friends. Happy Easter to you all, and I hope you had a very good Easter celebration and a good encounter with the risen Lord. Today, the second Sunday of Easter, we celebrate Divine Mercy Sunday. Now, this special feast day is a relatively new addition to the Catholic Church's liturgical calendar, officially designated by Pope St. John Paul II on the 30th of April, the year 2000. Now, let us remind ourselves here that the story of divine mercy dates back nearly 70 years to the appearance of Jesus to a young religious nun known as St. Maria Faustina Kowalska in the 1930s. She was born Helena Kowalska in 1905 in Poland. From a very early age, Faustina felt a strong pull towards a religious vocation. And of course, Christ chose Faustina to receive and share his message of divine mercy. And she experienced many mystical visions of him, that is, of Jesus, throughout her life. In all, St. Faustina recorded about 14 revelations from Jesus concerning his desire for this feast, the feast of divine mercy. So I now share with you one of them that concerns us today. And of course, when we talk about divine mercy, we are used to this divine mercy image. The famous image of the divine mercy somehow depicts the appearance of Jesus to St. Faustina in a vision with his right hand raised in a blessing and his left touching his garment above his heart. Red and white rays emanate from his heart, symbolizing the blood and water that were poured out for our salvation and our sanctification. The Lord therefore requested that, and I quote, Jesus, I trust in you, end of quotation, be inscribed under his image, under this image as we normally see. Jesus asked that his image be painted and venerated throughout the world. I promise that the soul that will venerate this image will not perish. And this is found in the diary of St. Faustina, number 48. And by means of this image, I will grant many graces to souls. And this is also found in the diary of Faustina, number 742. So, the whole image is symbolic of charity, forgiveness, and love of God, referred to as the fountain of mercy. And therefore, we understand that today we celebrate the fountain of mercy, the merciful face of God waiting for us to come back to him. And we also know that apart from this image of divine mercy, we also have the chaplet and the rosary of the divine mercy. The chaplet of divine mercy was also given to her, to St. Faustina, with this promise, and I quote, encourage souls to say the chaplet which I have given you, end of quotation. And this we can find or read about it in the diary of Faustina herself, number 1541. And the promises also continue, and I quote, whoever will recite it will receive great mercy at the hour of death. Even if there were a sinner most hardened, if he were to recite this chaplet only once, he will receive grace from my infinite mercy. I desire that the whole world know my infinite mercy. End of quotation, found in the diary of St. Faustina, number 687. And we also know that there is a divine mercy novena which Jesus gave to St. Faustina, 9 intentions for which to pray the chaplet beginning on Good Friday and ending on the Saturday before Divine Mercy Sunday. Therefore, on May the 5th in the year 2000, 5 days, literally 5 days after the canonization of Saint Faustina on April 30th, the year 2000, the Vatican decreed that the second Sunday of Easter will henceforth be known as Divine Mercy Sunday. So, as we explore divine mercy, we are also reminded that we are called to be Christ's merciful hands and feet in our hurting world. By being a conduit of divine mercy, we can uplift the poor, end suffering, and share compassion with those who are in need, with the people around us. And therefore, I will now introduce us to my reflection of today, the liturgy of today, of the second Sunday after Easter. I would like to begin this reflection with a memory from the village where I was born and somehow where I was brought up. Actually, I grew up in and around what we call in my first language Ikure. No, Ikure literally means a kind of extended family. Of course, we have in one compound, in one kind of squat or yard or a circle or a center, the concentration of many families in one compound, which we call some by extended family, different families, but all staying in one compound. So you can have the grandfather, the grandmother from my parents, from my father's side, I want to say, staying, the niece, the cousins living in one kind of compound, and it's called family compound. That is what we call Ikure in my first language. And in those days, there were no walls around us. And in the evening, I still remember something even more beautiful will happen. We will run around freely under the moonlight, enjoying the night, playing together with our friends and neighbors in a deeply safe and trusting environment. Sometimes we will begin to sing some traditional songs, simple songs that were more than just music. There were signals to other children in the village to come around, that we were there, we were about to start. When one group began to sing, others will hear from a distance and understand basically that we are gathering in 10 minutes. And so children will quickly finish their small household task, ask permission from the parents, and begin to appear in a particular way, coming from different homes, drawn by the sound of the voices in a particular ikure. There was no electricity, as you remember, but there was the moonlight. It was a beautiful rhythm of life. There were no fences separating one family from another, only simple kind of boundary markings, just enough to show where one piece of land ended and another began. Therefore, we knew who had what. But those boundaries were not barriers. They were like corner trees to show ownership of land. In my language, we call it atang. Atang is used to separate boundaries of land, to preserve crops for the next season, etc. As children, we moved freely. We could run into a neighbor's home without fear. We would greet them, sit with them, laugh with them. If our family needed fire or needed something, we would just simply walk in there or would go and take something that we needed, and we did not have that. And they could also do the same in our own family. If we run out of, for instance, salt or vegetables or some small cooking ingredients, we will simply go next door and borrow it and then return it when one buys it. there was just a natural openness, a sense of belonging, a sense of connectedness, a sense that we were part of one another's lives. That absence of walls made encounter really possible. I still remember this. It made relationships natural. It made the community just look real. But today, that same village is slowly changing. Walls are being built. Fences are going up. Gates are locked. And while these changes are often for security reasons and understandable ones anyway, something else is also happening. We are becoming used to staying within our own spaces. The walls are not only protecting us, they are also separating us. And perhaps this is not just the story of one village. It's not just about me, about my village. It is the story of our world today. We live in a time where we build many kinds of walls, physical walls, emotional walls, social walls, even spiritual walls. We lock our doors, our homes, our lives, and sometimes without realizing it, we lock our hearts. Fear has quietly taken a place within. And so the gospel today speaks directly into this reality, speaks directly to us. And we notice in the gospel reading, the disciples are behind locked doors. They are afraid. They have seen what happened to Jesus, and they are asking themselves, are we next? It is a moment we understand as humans. The disciples are behind locked doors. And then something extraordinary happens as they are close to themselves. Despite the locked doors, Jesus comes and stands among them. And his first words are these: peace be with you. Let us dwell on these words because they are not casual for me, they are very important. They are spoken into fear. They are spoken into violence. They are spoken into a wounded and anxious world. A world where war continues to scare the Middle East, where tensions and uncertainty affect part of Europe, where many communities in Africa live with deep wounds from conflict, poverty, and instability. Into this world, into this context, the risen Christ still says, peace be with you. Now, this is not the kind of peace the world gives. It is not simply the absence of conflict. It is not a fragile agreement that can collapse at any moment. It is the peace of the resurrection. A peace that comes from knowing that death does not have the final word. A peace that flows from a love stronger than hatred. A peace that is born out of suffering but not defeated by it. Yes, Jesus speaks peace as one who has passed through betrayal, violence, and death and overcome them. His wounds are still visible. And that is very important because it tells us that God does not erase wounds, He transforms them. And this touches something very deep in human life. We grow through what we endure. We learn to love through sacrifice. We are transformed even through our own wounds. So many people carry wounds, family wounds, relationships, that have broken or never healed, wounds within the church, moments of disappointment or pain, wounds in workplaces where dignity has been ignored, wounds in society caused by injustice and division, wounds from war, from hatred, from ideologies that divide people. And in many parts of the world, especially in communities across Africa, people carry very deep wounds, wounds of violence, wounds of loss, wounds of displacement, wounds of daily struggle just to survive. Many live with trauma not as something treated, but as something endured without psychological assistance, without the language to explain their pain. And yet they continue, they live, they believe, they love. I see a remarkable resilience here, a quiet strength, a way of carrying suffering and still finding meaning, still holding on to faith, still choosing life. And in the light of the gospel today, we see something profound. The risen Christ stands before us, not without wounds, but with them. His wounds are no longer signs of defeat, they are signs of love that has triumphed. And so he tells us, the risen Lord tells us, your wounds are not the end of your story. Even what has been broken can become a place of grace. Our brokenness can become a place of grace. And then we come to Thomas, Thomas who was not there, Thomas who could not believe, Thomas who needed to see and to touch. And Jesus offers him not an argument, not a lecture. The risen Lord offers Thomas his wounds. Put your hands into my side, he said. Thomas encounters the wounded and risen Lord, and everything changes. He makes that great confession, my Lord and my God, meaning Thomas has decided to submit, to be disarmed. Dear friends, Thomas teaches us something essential. Doubt does not separate us from Christ. Just as fear could not lock Jesus out of the room, doubt could not lock him out of Thomas's life. And more than that, we do not find faith by escaping wounds. No, not at all. We find faith by encountering Christ within them, a wounded Christ. But this also challenges us. We cannot speak of resurrection while ignoring the wounds of others. We cannot preach peace while avoiding the pain of the world. And here we have to be careful when it comes to the wounds of others. This is a sacred place. This is a temple. When we penetrate people into their lives, into their wounds, it's a time for respect, sacredness. We cannot preach today peace while avoiding the pain of the world. We are called, like Thomas, to touch the wounds of Christ present in the wounds of humanity. So, what does Easter really mean for us today? It means that no wall we build can keep Christ out. It means that no fear can silence his voice. It means that no wound is beyond transformation. It means that even in a divided and wounded world, life can rise again. Hope can rise again. Love can rise again. Dear friends, the risen Christ stands among us today. He comes into our locked rooms. He comes into our fears. He comes into our wounds. And he says, peace be with you. Let us receive that peace today. Let us live that peace today. And let us bring that peace to a world that desperately needs peace. Peace be with you.
Open your heart to the